How many of you have ever thought, who teaches the machines to think, right? So who teaches the machines to think? Well, as artificial intelligence learns from our languages, our data, and our everyday decisions, it's also learning who we are. But what if the story it's learning is missing half of humanity's voice? That's where the women come in. And that is the foundation of my talk today. I have over 20 years of experience in education. I have taught robotics, science, and math, and I have built STEM programs for our youth across America, especially young girls, who are now leading and dominating in spaces that were not meant for us to be in. I've had the privilege of watching children go from, I can't do this, to pressing run on their first coded command and realizing that the robot listened to her voice. Now, you all think, man, that's really inspiring, right? But actually, that's evidence. It's evidence that when you let girls participate in technology, then the technology itself changes. We're here, and the waterfall is called the smoke that thunders, correct? So let's think about smoke for a second. The way it rises without asking for permission. It is unpredictable, but powerful. It's present even when we try not to see it. What if I told you women in technology is that smoke? We have silently been working in the background. Most of the technology created today was formulated by women. Ada Lovelace wrote the world's first algorithm in the 1800s before computers even existed. Who's seen the movie Hidden Figures? Katherine Johnson calculated trajectories that got astronauts into space and brought them safely home. A woman. Grace Hopper invented the first compiler, and she asked the question that changed technology forever. Why can't computers understand the human language? How many of you have been on Facebook and you would have had a conversation with somebody about a product, and then you open Facebook and that product that you were just talking about is now on your screen? And it's like, how did this happen? Grace Hopper invented that technology to where what we were thinking, the computer could understand and then navigate us in the correct direction, right? When you hear the word robotics, who thinks machines? When you hear robotics, it's machines, right? What if I told you robotics is not about the robot? Instead, robotics is about the thinking. Robotics teaches you cause and effect, sequencing. It teaches you visualization, conceptualization, and then how to have a problem and break it down into steps. Cognitive skills that we use in project management, we use it in data analysis, we use it while we're diagnosing our issues in just everyday life, how to get from point A to point B, correct? When we teach a student how to program and code their robot, we're not teaching them how to control a device. What we're trying to teach them is how to control a process. Robotics allows your mind an opportunity to imagine something that you've never seen before. And once you open that mind up for imagination, then you can strategize. I know what I want to do, so now how can I do it? And once we get there, the next step is what? We build it. And then if we build it and it's like, it might not be how I want it, what can we do then? We can refine it, because robotics is our imagination. It is what we can create, it's what we can come up with, and we build, we strategize, and we change based on us, right? So artificial intelligence, or AI, it's out now, it's changing everything. How we think, how we communicate, how we analyze our data. And we think we're teaching the machines to think. But in reality, the machines are learning us. They are learning our patterns. They are learning our details. They're learning how we analyze. And if we're not careful, they will also learn our blind spots. They will inherit our biases unless everybody in the room make up the fullness of humanity so that we can get a bigger picture. So if African Americans are not in the room, if women are not in the room, if educators are not in the room, then ethics is not in the room. Accuracy is not in the room. Diversity is not in the room. So what do? So when I teach math or taught math, I'm no longer in the classroom. When I taught math, I would teach my students how to solve a problem by giving them steps. You want to get to point B, you got to do step A, B, C, and so forth, right? So we'll do the same thing in steps. Step 1, normalize AI and robotics early. Right now, it's neglected in most of the schools. It's an option. If you want to learn robotics, you can learn robotics. If you don't, you don't. But because robotics teaches our young kids how to think, then robotics should be a core subject in the classroom. Step 2, educate the teachers. It's hard to get teachers to teach the students robotics if they have not been taught robotics. So we have to make sure that our teachers have the same view, the same access, so that when they teach the students, we get a fullness of education. Step 3, build tech ecosystem. And that's like, okay, that's a lot of words. What does that mean? It basically means that everybody, women, children, the underserved community, should have access to technology across the board. I should have the same access to technology as someone in a different city, and it should not be based on income, because technology and AI is a need. All right? Step 4, show the student what tech looks like in everyday life. How many of you know transportation is a part of technology? Irrigation is a part of technology. Logistics is a part of technology. Medicine came from a part of technology. This is stuff that we use on a daily basis, but some way the disconnect between our everyday life and robotics and technology has been disconnected. And then step 5, diversity and representation should be a quality control measure, not an initiative. The more people, the more faces, the more culture, the more background we have in building our technological systems, then a clearer picture we will have, and then AI and technology will encompass all of humanity. And it's like, that sounds nice, but then what happens when we do that? And this might be the corniest line ever, but you'll have unity. You'll have systems that when I say a word, they understand where I'm coming from because they have knowledge of my background. Have you ever opened a book and it says, are you going to eat oatmeal or raisins? And I'm like, I like grits. And they don't know what grits is because somebody that wasn't like me who liked grits was not in the room. So somebody who knew what grits is should have been in the room to say, hey, grits is a meal as well. And this is how you make it. And it's almost like oatmeal, except you use cornmeal instead of oats, right? So it seems simple, but representation matters, right? And so when we follow those steps, we have the fullness of representation in technology and in AI. Women in technology have been hidden for so long, and now to be able to step out onto the stages, we're stepping into the lab, we're stepping into the research centers, because I have a podcast called You're Not Done, You're Becoming. And all that means is that we are forever in transition. The version of you today will not be the version of you tomorrow, because you are not done, you are becoming. And so as we go through this life of evolution, as we get ready for the new vision of artificial intelligence, understand that you are not done, that you are becoming, and opening your mind up to the imagination and the realization of artificial intelligence, technology, robotics, is how we build a brighter future. Thank you.